Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36. It's O'Connor and Company on this very busy Monday morning. If you just missed our tay-to-tay with Joe DeGenova, please get it on the podcast. You should get our podcast all the time, though, by the way. Subscribe to it so you can get the downloads. You get the shows, all 4 hours, condensed for your pleasure. And you also get every interview broken out on its own. And Joe's observations on today's testimony from Devin Archer, vital for everyone to have. So make sure you grab that podcast. Also coming up at 8:05, we'll check in with Gabby Hoffman of Independent Women's Forum. I'm Larry O'Connor, alongside Julie Gunwald.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. We're actually discussing our future plans to go visit Europe. I've got a trip to Ireland coming up. You've got a trip to Ireland coming up.
Well,
we're all going to the Emerald
We're not
Isle.
going together.
They are part of the European Union, of course, and it's a good thing we're going now, because if we go next year, we're going to have to jump through a whole lot of new hoops before we visit any country in the European Union. Joining us now to break that down for you, as you might be making your travel plans for next year, is the one and only Nile Gardiner of Heritage Foundation. Nile, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you.
These have been described as quite Orwellian, what the EU is now mandating. It's not just us Yanks. Anyone around the world outside of the EU who wants to travel as a tourist, what is it they have to do starting next year?
Well, as you point out, this is a rather onerous new requirement from the European Union. So it's going to require an online application from U.S. citizens starting in 2024 under what is known as the European Travel Information Authorization System, ETIAS. And everyone from the U.S. and 60 other normally visa-exempt countries will have to do this application, pay a fee, and EU officials will then decide whether or not applicants are able to enter into the EU. So it's an immensely bureaucratic process, completely unnecessary in my view. It's all about big government power and control. It's also, I think, a monument to supranationalism, because this impacts every single EU member state, 27 countries. And so EU officials will be deciding who has the right to enter those countries. And I think that this is really a kind of measure that's going to deter, I think, a lot of Americans from traveling to Europe. So I think it's going to have an impact on the travel industry. Yeah. But also, I have to say, this is really a sort of political move, which I think is hugely counterproductive. It's not good for transatlantic relations. Yeah. I think it's yet another monstrous proposal from EU officials, from the European Commission.
Yeah, I want to pull on that a little bit. Why? I mean, is this some sort of we'll get you back for Brexit, or is this some anti-American? It's not just America, I assume, who has to now apply. But what's behind this? Is it to get the data? You call it Orwellian, that they're going to get a ton of information from people wanting to travel to EU countries. But I'm just trying to understand the politics behind this. Why exactly? What exactly are they trying to get?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. And there has been little in the way of answers and information coming from European Union officials on this. And I think it's a number of things. And I think that it is certainly a revenue-making exercise on the one hand, but also I think this is about the centralization of power and control within the EU. So EU officials will now be in charge of who enters into Ireland, for example, or France, or Germany, or Belgium, Spain, etc. So it's about control. But also, and this I think is a growing fear, is that this measure will be used politically as a weapon, under which EU officials can deny entry into European countries if they don't like the political outlook of someone applying. And I do think there's a real danger that they could be keeping out people who they don't like, for example, from the United States. Perhaps those politically who are deemed to be unacceptable in their view. And I think you could see this kind of thing. What it's not going to do, of course, is in any way control the huge flow of illegal migration into the European Union.
Right.
This is a measure that's targeted against legal travel to the United States.
Yeah.
Really for tourism reasons, actually, and so this has nothing to do, in my view, with dealing with illegal migration or with national security. In fact, I would say that the idea of targeting U.S. travelers to Europe on national security grounds would be absolutely ridiculous. In fact, people traveling from the European Union, if you think about the large number of Islamist terrorists that are operating within Europe, that's a far bigger threat to the U.S. than vice versa. And so I don't see the national security argument for this kind of policy here.
Yeah, and thank you for going there and pointing out that as they're having this migrant crisis where people are loading into boats and crossing the Mediterranean from Libya and landing in the shores, and they're welcomed with open arms, and it's fine for them to have their policies on refugees. That's up to them, but they're not hopping through any hoops like some tourists or people doing business in Europe might have to do starting next year. It's the priorities are a little askew, let's say. Now we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for shedding light on this. Real fast, though, and I do mean real fast. There's no second look at this. There's no appeal. It's done. They're not going to rescind this. They're not going to delay it. This is it.
Yeah, I think it's being implemented. There's been no opposition at all from the Biden administration to this. But I do think Americans should be very concerned about this. This new measure.
And where is our State Department? That's remarkable.
They're doing nothing. They're not saying anything about this at all.
All right. Thank you for that, Nile. Nile Gardiner, Heritage Foundation. Great stuff as always. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.